Being very entitled and controlling, narcissists have no difficulty stepping all over your personal boundaries. So that's why I put together an extensive video class called This Is Me. It has 25 videos, written documents, guided questions. I'm going to teach you how to have healthy boundaries. There's a link below, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. There's a trend or a tendency among individuals who have strong narcissistic leanings that can leave you just scratching your head thinking, what in the world is going on here? And how do these people get away with being what they are? Now, to describe it, let's first remember that many times narcissists can come across in an overly confident kind of way, like, I really am somebody. And even if they have anxiety, they can still think, well, but I'm still better than you. Narcissists can lack reasoning skills. They lack good rationale for the ways that they do things. They're highly subjective in the way that they engage with the world. In other words, it's all about me. Objectivity takes a back seat. They can be unaware of how damaging they are in their relationships, or if they do see how damaging they are, they'll blame it on you, and sometimes they can even be proud of them being that way. And then they strongly will cling to the mindset that says, I have to be right, which means, by definition, you must be wrong. Now, there's a word that summarizes everything that I'm saying here, and it's the word dense. These individuals can be so pig-headed, they can be so stubborn and thick-skinned that it almost takes them to a point where they can at times just be out of touch with reality. And then when you call them out on their lack of reality, they double down. They'll say, no, I'm not the problem, you're the problem. And they show themselves to be every bit as dense as you see them to be because they just can't admit anything. Now, what I want to do is I want to give you a quick 10-point checklist that will tell you what if you're dealing with someone like this, and then I want to figure out what's going on and how can we respond to this. So as a checklist, you know that you're in the presence of a very dense narcissistic individual. Number one, when you see a lack of analytical thinking, especially about oneself. Narcissists are known for going into what we call alternate reality. In other words, they make up stuff just to suit their narrative. Number two, others' common sense is summarily brushed off, especially or particularly when you differ from them. They can't deal with your reasoning at all. Number three, these dense individuals cannot ask for help, and they actually seem disinterested in any form of self-improvement. It's like, why would I need to improve on, this? I'm so wonderful. Number four, they can be both smug and easily annoyed at the same time. In other words, they can have this smirk that can turn into agitation very quickly. Number five, these individuals have no capacity for fair-minded discussions. Whenever you say, hey, let's collaborate here and let's see if we can have a meeting of the minds, it's like you'll find out very quickly, no, my mind is made up, shut up, and you'll get harassment, you'll get invalidation. Number six, these people are strongly driven by a hunger for power and dominance. They're very impressed by dominant people. It's like, that's what I want to be. And as a result, they can easily go on the attack towards other individuals. If you're dominant, that means you have to have somebody to dominate, and that's where you come in. Number seven, these people are constantly seeking confirmation bias. In other words, I believe certain things, and I'm going to find other individuals who will kind of go along with the same thing, and that makes me right. And so to them, partial knowledge, well, that's enough, as long as it agrees with me, because you see, they don't really seek perspective on events and people and circumstances. They just want to gain an edge. Number eight, They're constantly looking for a scapegoat when there's a problem there, someone to take the blame for perhaps their miscalculations or irresponsibilities. They want to take credit for any success that might be there, and then they're constantly looking for someone to blame if there's a lack of success. Number 9, these individuals are pessimistic by nature, and you're going to see that because they're so easily critical and very quick to point out what you did wrong. They cannot be pleased. There's always something that they think, yep, there's another thing that's wrong. And then number 10, these individuals are strongly inclined towards simplistic answers or simplistic application of how to do things. They lack any sense of nuance whatsoever. Now, as I go through those 10, you can kind of mark those off and think, man, if I have someone in my life that scored 10 for 10, that's not a test that you want them to ace, but there it is. What's going on when you're dealing with someone who's that dense and has so many of these kind of characteristics? First, let's remind ourselves that when people go into that deep and ongoing pattern of narcissism, their levels of self-absorption are just off the charts. Somewhere way deep into their past, they either decided, I don't want to hear from other individuals, or it just doesn't even dawn on them to think, I need to think about other individuals. Their empathy levels are close to zero, and it's just like, well, it's all about me, and if I'm satisfied, life's good. In addition, you can see then that people who have this density in their mindset have very low emotional intelligence. Like I say, they have low empathy, they have low curiosity about you other than to find out things that they can exploit. They are low in the encouragement direction. They're low in being gentle with other individuals. Gentleness means you're weak, and they don't want to do that. Instead, they have developed pessimism as just an ongoing manner of thinking and being. And you'll notice that their pessimism is displayed by their easy inclination toward defensiveness. It's like, hey, look, I know you people out there, you may not like me, you may not agree with me, but you know what? That's because you're stupid or you're no good. And so they see what's negative in other individuals. If they see something they dislike, well, obviously it means that you're in the wrong, and as a result, they develop easy feelings of hatred or rejection or invalidation, like I say, comes quickly and easily. Now, let's recognize, in addition to all of this tendency toward that invalidation and condescension doesn't just arise from a vacuum. It comes from someplace on the inside. What's that all about? And you can see that when a person is truly dense and truly unwilling to receive any kind of input or appreciation of someone else, these are individuals who are in compensation mode. They themselves fear being labeled as wrong. They fear being rejected. They fear appearing to be inadequate. They fear appearing to be misinformed. And so the best way for them to supposedly take care of those fears is to find someone who's even worse than they are. And as a result, rather than dealing with who they are, it's like, well, if I've got issues, which I probably don't, you're really the problem. But it's all a compensation mode. Somehow they're better if they can find someone who's worse. Dense individuals will typically confuse knowledge for wisdom. Some of these individuals can actually have good intelligence on certain topics. They may know a whole lot about many different subjects, and they may be skilled in certain with certain capabilities. But there's not a wisdom. When I say wisdom, it's applied knowledge, where it actually is for the greater good of the people that are in community with that person. That's not something that they have developed whatsoever. Instead, these dense narcissistic individuals have very low coping skills. Part of their density and part of their inclination towards simplicity arises from the fact that diversity threatens them. It's like I don't know what to do when someone comes along and brings me complexity, or if they have ideas or needs or feelings that are just kind of outside of my comfort zone. And so rather than saying, I need to learn, it's like, well, I don't know and I don't need to know. Therefore, they just pronounce things black and white, right versus wrong. Now, when you see this propensity, and this pattern is very strong on the individuals that might be there in front of you, there's certain things to keep in mind. First, and I want to say this as kindly as I can, but there's a stupid factor that these individuals simply can't shake. And when I say stupid, I mean that there's just a pervasive lack of understanding. There's childish reasoning for adult circumstances. Instead, they want you to believe that you're the dense one. So when they come at you saying, well, I know and you don't take the bait. Don't go into arguments with these individuals. Don't attempt to discuss your better ways or tell them how wrong they are. These are not safe individuals, so you don't want to confide with them. You don't want to get too deep into your thoughts and needs and feelings with them, because it's just going to be summarily stepped upon. Drop any illusion that your reasoning is going to be appreciated, but instead you're going to still need to determine, I'm going to be me. And in the meantime, I'm going to just have to make room for their predictable ridicule. One of the biggest problems that you can have when you're with these dense narcissists is you can convince yourself, I'm going to be okay if I can just get that person to know me and understand me and appreciate me more fully, which is why sometimes you argue and you plead your case and you find yourself being defensive. Let's drop all of that. When you engage with a dense, selfish, controlling manipulator, it's not going to end well. So what I'm going to suggest is, why don't we recognize when we're dealing with somebody who's this dense, narcissistic individuals, the smartest thing for you to do is to individualize your efforts toward finding peace. And as much as you can leave them out of the equation, the better. Now, I hope this gives you some good awareness of what you're dealing with. There's so many different angles to this whole topic of narcissism. And so if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so, and the notification bell that goes along with it. I would encourage that you watch these videos on a cumulative basis so that you can have a sense of wisdom about who you are as you deal with them. If you have a need for therapy, and I know times when you're dealing with something like this that could be most necessary and helpful, you know I've been sponsored for years by the people at BetterHelp.com. It's an online therapy resource. It's become very popular since the pandemic, and it's proven to be very efficient and beneficial and accessible. If you have a need, that we have the link that's below here. Please seek the help that you would deserve. There's a whole team of licensed professional therapists waiting for you. In addition, I have my therapeutic courses, and these are meant to give you guidance in a very a specific kind of way. Each course has like 25 or more videos, and then each video has written documentation, guided questions. We have Ready, Set, Connect about making good connection skills. This is me about establishing your boundaries, free to be, finding yourself despite those controllers. We have my webinars, which are a bit different. We also have my podcast, our many articles on our website, my books, lots of resources. Okay, you can be engaging with this highly narcissistic person, and it just dawns on you over and over, this person's dense. And rather than getting pulled into their web of rationalizations and manipulations, I'm hoping you can indeed pull back and have your own individuation, because I'm hoping you can find your peace separate and distinct from them, and take your own path regardless of what they interpret you as being. And in doing so, it allows you to have your own individuation, and you can stay out of the quagmire that they want to pull you into. I so want you to become a person of peace.